There we go. Hey everyone, it is a pleasure to introduce today someone I admire so much. I've been getting to know for the last 6 months as I have been participating in vibrant meetings with global entrepreneurs. Today, joining us from San Diego, I have someone that dedicated his career helping leaders, entrepreneurs, to strengthen their personal brand and professional networking. He is an expert in communication and media preparation and the creator of LINKMAKER Executive Interview. Ed Cohen, welcome to this conversation.
And congratulations to you on your product launch today.
Thank you very much.
I'm really honored to be on your program.
You
really
inspire me to do this. And Ed, we would like to know something fun about yourself that we cannot find on the internet. Can you share any fun fact?
Well, sure. Well, I like movies, and I like to walk on the beach, and as you've seen in some of those photos recently, and I just love San Diego because usually the weather is just beautiful, and Joanne and I go for long walks. Yesterday we had more than 12,000 steps.
Wow.
Usually it's around 10,000, but we kept finding places to go and look and look at. And anyway, that's a fun thing that we do daily, and we're going to do that this morning, later in my morning here. And so to what extent did your experience on my programs, global TV talk shows, make you feel comfortable enough to launch your own?
That's interesting because, Ed, I think being isolated is the worst we can do in this planet for our careers and for our personal growth, right? And by participating in your meetings lately and seeing how entrepreneurs, professionals, human beings, friends, you have enabled this environment where we feel so, comfortable to share our ideas. There's no one judging each other, but we're collaborating together. And it really inspired me on the way that we help, we grow, we learn, our mind open, right, with the new ideas that we share together over there. So I'm really thankful to you for that. Because I think as entrepreneurs, sometimes we do many mistakes on the way. And that's actually something I'd like to ask you. You have lots of experience on building your own brand, and you have done this very successfully. So what would you recommend to someone that is starting? What mistakes can they avoid when they are building their brands?
There's no script. And the issue is personally driven. The opportunity is personally driven. There aren't any books on what to do. Well, some people have faked it and written books as if they know what to do. And maybe they do, but it's hands-on. First of all, somebody who wants to do this kind of a launch and sustain it beyond the first 30 or 60 days, you have to know what you're doing, at least at simple levels. It also, and I'll circle back to that in just a minute, but equally important, in combination with know thyself and know your product, and then the idea is, who do you think must have your product. How are you going to communicate that urgency without looking like a jerk and without looking like you're a threat? And then reverse that thinking, turn it upside down and say, how can I help people who are in a need or don't know exactly what to do or aren't sure? And the worst possible situation for someone who's going to start a YouTube TV talk show is this thing called the imposter syndrome. And a lot of people have it, men and women. I want to jump aside here and say that based upon research and using LinkedIn basically as my foundation for research, because that's the easiest way to go, way more than half, I'd say almost 60% of my audience, which is a business to business audience, US and global, mostly US, but it's global and growing, fast growing outside the US, are women in business situations, not necessarily ownership, but as a junior executive or manager or a leader within a group, and sometimes C-level, or as a book author, or as a research scientist that work for an organization, but they're in a leading role, which essentially is an entrepreneurial position within structures internally that I have no knowledge about or know nothing about. But how do I communicate psychological safety in front of a TV camera on this screen in this setting? You have experienced the idea exchange. You've observed and like and how I introduce people who don't know each other. They're from across industries, across silos, across borders and cultures, across generations. How do those people ever going to get along? Well, in the global meeting room, in other words, the space that I call my meetings, and I'll get back to that branding in just a second.
Okay.
Because that's critical to being an entrepreneur, is branding everything in more than one way. But don't tell people you're doing that. Just do it. It shows up on screen. And when you want to change it, you change it. That's all. Or you just don't get rid of the old, you just add on. It's like next generation of plan A is now plan B because something happened. Somebody gave me a tip or suggested something, or I'm a voracious reader of stuff. And so I'm absorbing content and news and information every day for hours. And then oftentimes nothing clicks, like boom, nothing. And other times I'll get going on something at say my 5 a.m., which is very quiet, very peaceful, super connectivity, mental acuity in the early hours. Because later in the day, you get busy doing stuff, following up, and you don't have that same, the work changes as the day goes on. Or you just break at halftime, 12 o'clock, and just get out. And then everything goes away. Now, maybe you can find it again later. but it's going to be a little different. The life of an entrepreneur. It's an engineering process. In other words, building a structure on the fly, but always within an operating room environment whereby you're the surgeon and you don't want to kill the patient. All right, so I'm using extreme imagery here because this is the business you're in. Imagery. How are you coming across? Are you capturing the panelist who's on the screen with you, thousands of miles away, but on the screen with you? In other words, what I call the global meeting room is right here on the screen right now. I'm in your office and you're in my dining room, but my office. But the concept is that you can only do that through conversation. You can't force anybody to do anything. And you have to not be boring. You cannot be dictatorial in nature, in attitude, in voice, tone, pacing. This is Hollywood, but without the glitz and without the phoniness, because this is real. And if you blow it, you may not get another chance with that person.
Exactly.
Everybody's busy. So how do you ensure your day-to-day success? Because you can't ensure anything more. Insure means insurance. How do you protect? How do you guard rail this thing? So my rule number one on doing executive interviews, the LINKMAKER interview. So I believe in content collaboration. Rule number one. If I tell people what I want them to say, they are not going to be media prepared. They are going to be prepared to fail and not look good on camera. They may feel good internally and they're a good person, but the camera, this little green light that I'm looking at, sees everything. The way I just moved my head, the way I use my hands, the tone of voice, and the way that when we're in a multi-person setting, I'm talking with Angie, and I'm talking with you, and I'm talking with Ken Lloyd, and I'm talking with someone else. And I want to make sure everybody is in on that conversation. So it's up to me to pull it together, because people, especially if they're successful people, they don't want to be embarrassed by rough handling, or we'll just call it unprofessional, but it's worse than that. It's rough, rather than cultured, rather than, are you feeling psychologically safe, Carolina? And of course you're going to say yes. You're not going to say no. So then that usually brings a smile, just like you just did, because it shows comfort and some kind of agreement with what I just said. So the practice of doing that, how do you know what to do, right? So the practice of doing that is by watching others.
Yes.
You watch TV, you watch newscasters, you watch talk shows, whether it's women or a mixed company, whether it's about fashion or exercise or health wellness stuff. Okay, you just watch the people communicating, and Some people don't need acting lessons, but the smart ones get them. The smartest people learn everything there is to know about appearing on camera. And then if you're not going to be on camera, you're going to be on a voice, audio, radio. It's called radio. Okay, now they're using fancy words, but it's radio or TV. You got to call it what it is, and then you know what the risks are. And then you can counteract that through media prep. So what I've done is I've developed a system, not overnight, but trial and error, of, well, what does media prep mean for my talk shows? That's very, very different than from media prep on Paramount Pictures and Tom Cruise movies. Totally different. Those are totally scripted, and nothing gets on camera that isn't already rehearsed 20 times. We don't rehearse anything. So the risk is tremendous for me and for my guests. So how do I alleviate? How do I mitigate that risk? How do I get rid of it? It's through content collaboration upfront. So when I have a new meeting, or when I'm in recruitment, like I was an hour ago, I got a LinkedIn message from this woman who's in a senior business position within HR in a company, some kind of a tech company in Poland.
Oh.
Out of the blue. So I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I put a lot of stuff out, and then there's a lot of different people that look at different things. Okay, and most don't respond because everybody's busy taking care of their kids, taking care of themselves, taking care of their own business. They don't care about me, but they're interested. I've piqued some interest through one or more of my posts. Okay. Some are intended to make people smile. Other posts are intended by me to get a response, some kind of a response, like, tell me more. And then I get pitches from people in India and Bangladesh and wherever who are techies, and they want to sell me service, or they want me to buy. Okay, so I'm thinking, okay, now how can I make this interview work for my customer? Especially if it's a public relations meeting, in other words, not a paid client meeting. And I don't mean anything more than what those words are, is because it's different. So in a freebie, where you don't ask for money, you just do the service because, well, you want to. And if your prospect doesn't experience your meeting space and the conversation, they'll never buy anything from you, ever, ever, ever. So the idea is to invest. So and I don't mean anything direct or any other thing that I'm saying right now, Carolina. It's just, if you don't experience my very best, you will never consider spending money on a client-centered contract over a period of time of appearances and products. You would never, ever do that. And so that's the knowledge that I bring. So I want to give not only you, but others, a taste of the finest, a taste of the caviar rather than green salad. Okay, they're both good. It's just way different. So the psych-safe feelings and impressions that you experienced over the past couple of months in our variety of talk shows, and people like Angie, who has a different kind of relationship with me over the years, and how it started, how it continues, and what's coming next. So this evolves, this kind of safety, psych safety, it evolves over time. It could evolve in 15 minutes, if you're lucky, because then there's less investment required. So I don't mean to be dictatorial here in any fashion at all, because it's all winging it. If you don't have a basic understanding of public relations and talking with people in a non-threatening manner, where there's always a risk, but there's hardly any risk if behavior is proper and tone of voice and the topic is talked about, not from me to you, but let's say from Ken or from Angie or Stephen or Mary, who's also in the screen. And the ability to get people's views and communications out there based upon what you have said or what I have said or what they have said. This is that feeling that you're referring to, of feeling safe. And it's okay. So I have produced over 1,000 productions since beginning this, and 30 years of producing live meetings without video. In fact, I was afraid of using video because I know the power of it if it doesn't work. So, and that's the highest risk. Put people on camera and they're not prepared, and they may never ever come back because they're scared, or they have the imposter syndrome. Oh, it's not me. That's her. So it's different. So the idea is have pre-planned talking points.
Right.
So I would invite you to give me your talking points. 2 or 3 things that, not sentences, just keywords. And then because of that keyword, bingo, a flow opens because of all the things you think about based upon that keyword or phrase, rather than memorize script sentences. That's where people get screwed up in front of a camera, because suddenly people get self-conscious. Oh my God, how am I appealing? How am I appearing? How am I sounding? Oh, did I drool on my shirt? No, I didn't do that. But you worry about things like that once you start getting into dialogue. So that restricts or moderates or modifies tone, pace, language. And if one talks too long, they could be thought of to hog the camera, right? To block out other people's times. So you'll learn the hard way. You'll learn through experience when that happens. In other words, how do you cut someone off? Well, some people raise their hand. I just say, may I interrupt? I've got something to say, and then I'll be quiet. Okay, and of course they're going to stop, right?
And you do it so graciously that it seems you're born this way, right? People that look at you,
No.
And and for the people that is watching this conversation today and wondering, okay, I got very, very important points from what you said right now. Like, there's no script when we're, developing,
but there's organization.
but there is organization and there
Yeah.
is investment that you do to get better on your skills. As you said, this is so important too. So what would you say to someone that is maybe in the company, right? And thinking about how can I make my way of work a brand? How can I make what I do recognizable or remembered? Like you do with your everything that you say, Ed, and your brands and your way of communicating, your way of writing, we know it's you. It's like it's a very authentic. And how can someone develop that?
That's a really good point. And it's taken me a long time because in the beginning it wasn't so easy. But I have to say that I've been in positions involving public relations, sales, particularly advertising, writing ads and selling ad space, and which is the same as sponsorship of a program or a product or sponsorship of an event, where there's other sponsors too. Or having an exhibit space at a convention and people walk by, and how do you grab someone's attention because it's exhibit, why should they stop at my booth? Well, I learned, and let's see, what year was that? Probably 1980, 79, 80. And at that time I was publishing print magazines. And, prior to that, I had worked in advertising agencies, copywriting, and being on camera selling the magic of this pen. Look at that pen. Can you imagine what you can do with that pen? Well, first of all, you have to open it. And if there's ink in there, you can write words. So the product has to be right? And it can't be yellow. It could be, but I like blue. And this product actually fits my fingers, which is kind of large rather than more dainty. And this is a big pen, so it feels good to hold it. So you see, I'm selling a product here, right? The second. It's silly, isn't it? But it's same thing with words, and the same thing with an image. So your product, as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is coaching executives to speak American business language. Something like that, right?
Yes, American English, and to be
in a business context.
In a business context.
Yeah. And so this is English would be American business language as a second or third language.
Yes.
Yeah, that's difficult. And some people can't get the accent or don't know, but they get the idea. But they have to practice how they sound about that. So do they watch TV shows so they get to see how American TV show actors speak?
So there's a lot of content, but it's always better to direct to the kind of content that we need to use, right? So more specific business podcasts, business related movies. But of course, they need to speak, having in consideration that the message is the most important thing. But this is another tricky thing for us when we are speaking a second language. As you said, we get so much conscious of how I sound and how people will perceive me. And it's when we are able to focus on the message, then it's a game changer. And this is what I try to share with my students and motivate them to understand this. The different steps we need to take to get to this place, but this is the work.
So I use this as just so simple.
Mm-hmm.
What is this? Well, this is a communications device, this thing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And it's comfortable for me to hold it. And so when I use it, I'll show you something here. I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to hold it. Well, you can't really read it, but this is a long list, all right, of stuff that I thought was important at the moment I wrote it. Not sure what it is now, but at the time it was important. And then these are notes from conversations that I've had and key things. Now, the important thing is that I should look at this more often because rather than just write it down. So I'm trying to show that you have to have fun. I have to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not displaying happiness with what I'm doing, you're not going to stick around, because the feeling of joie de vivre, or whatever that phrase is, happiness with yourself, happiness in life, and translate that to a business situation, it means you're not friends yet, because personally, but business friends, meaning cordial and hospitality industry stuff. That's the key, is to think of how am I going to show in the global meeting room, in other words, my TV show, the role of hospitality to make people feel comfortable in this business setting. Yeah.
In your opinion, do you think this joy or a sense of fulfillment, happiness when you're doing your job has to do with purpose? Like for someone that is maybe in a company or in a job, they don't feel joy, right? How
Yeah,
can they
I know.
find this? How can they?
Yeah, that's called, in the olden days, that was called, you need an attitude adjustment. Rather than, be more empathetic.
All
And,
right.
even if you don't feel it, you've got to show it.
Mhm.
So, and if you don't do that right in today's world right now, that person will be fired, because the new culture of the company is to be within a psychological safe environment, so the workers can produce more and create a learning make it like a college rather than a business, but they still get paid. But they want to learn more. How can I upskill and reskill?
Mhm.
Okay, what things should I upskill, reskill first? AI maybe doesn't count right now. It's communicating with people who are not your friend yet. They don't want to be friends unless they feel safe. Nothing's going to get done. So I don't mean to soft pedal or hard pedal anything. It's just a matter of conversation. And so you've seen how I would open a topic and just say, Ken Lloyd is there. This guy's Dr. Ken Lloyd, a PhD in organizational psychology, and years of top-level corporate experience in talent development and management in the largest manufacturer of medical apparel, doctors, nurses, whatever. That's his 18 years of top-level experience, in addition to writing books and writing a Dear Abby help column, and then having it syndicated by the New York Times. This is heavy duty. And yet when he's on the program and I say, well, Ken, what do you think about that? This is totally unrehearsed. And bang, he's in there with this and that and the 1, 2, 3. And because he's prepared. And he trusts me not to put him in a precarious situation on the spot. I put him on the spot. But that's the nature of the program by design. That doesn't happen overnight. You have to practice. And so the attitude that you want it to be like that will come through before it actually is like that. And then all of a sudden it's like that and you're there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fabulous self-fulfilling prophecy when that happens. And it becomes like a drug, if you will. You want the next event to give you that same high. That is success. And you have so much success doing that because people like it and they'll give you a testimonial and thank you for doing that for me. But that's the reward that I get. And again, if I want to reiterate here for us as well as the audience out there, the attitude that you're willing to give, even though there's no immediate cash reward, the idea of building somebody's confidence and then having it on display in an unrehearsed, unstructured environment. Actually, there is structure, but it's unrehearsed. That is a pot of gold because it's knowing that success factor drives me to want to do more of it and make new connections and show that I can be trusted to provide some help without a toll gate. In other words, pay me first. And people who do that on talk shows, they don't survive because people find that threatening. And then you have to have the guts at some point in time to say, the rules are changing. You can't come on the show unless you're a sponsor or a member. That's the kiss of death for everything that you've been building. So you can't do that. You have to expand on the good feeling that you had last week or 2 days ago in that prior meeting. You want to find a way to do it again and maybe do more, double down, because then that cements the relationship. It reduces financial risk, setting the stage simultaneously. So you have this thing, reducing risk and setting the stage for an increase in trust. And what happens when that happens is you get more involvement with that person. They want to be involved. They want to do more. And then you talk about it. You write a note. You talk to someone who knows me that you now know. If you had an inkling of discomfort with me or the methodology, you would never do that. So that's the social psychology. So one of my favorite topics in college was social psychology.
Mm.
That and marketing. That's like pot of gold, those two things. And now some guys sat in the class with me. And they were really good guys and really good athletes, but they thought it was all just a bunch of BS, and they just didn't have a clue on what to do with it. But for some reason, I just got turned on by the professor and learned about how to take this and combine it with the social psychology aspect. I don't remember exact things right now. It was a long time ago. And then apply that, whatever that was, to the marketing thing that I'm thinking about. Bingo. You come up, you're lucky, you come up with a slogan like, to build confidence, I strive to help all of the members in the Global Press Club thrive. When? In 25. And so it's like full circle, right?
Mhm.
And then it becomes a slogan, and then the link maker idea. So what happens is that you've been in multiple programs that I've produced, and you were introduced to this person and that person, and then you've had your own um, encounter, your own experience with that person without me involved at all. That's called link making. And that's how I came up with the idea. Because I love LinkedIn. I've been a member of LinkedIn for 10 years or maybe more. And our reach through the memberships, not to mention the general feed. When you post something, it goes into the general feed. But then the memberships in the various groups, that is direct communication. You can't be friends with 2.6 million, but I reach that. Doesn't mean they're going to read everything I'm doing, but their eyes will pick up on a nice image or the headline. If there's not a nice image that's related to what you're selling or explaining, combined with a cute phrase, they'll never get to the next paragraph. They're too busy. They're going to jump off. But those things work. Now, it may be a month before I come up with another slogan. I don't know. But those two have been terrific in generating reach out and communications with strangers, most of whom have not had the experience you've had. They've had no experience. They haven't made time to be in the global meeting room at all. Zero. They may look at the YouTube station because it's global free access, free subscription. I do that on purpose to build audience. And you build audience, you have a 50-50 shot of that person wanting to do more. So I didn't mean to talk so much here, but
It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
thanks.
Everything you said about your brands, how you told us that the comfort zone is not a zone to stay, right? And this is how you help people that are in your show to take the next step. This is a very important thing for growing, for personal growing. Now, talking about this, is there any upcoming events, anything that you would like to share with us for the next days, or that you could invite the public here?
Yes, but it's not in my memory, so I have to look it up, and I don't want to get off the screen.
It's
I'm
okay.
afraid I'll hit the wrong button. But yes, let's see.
I could put it as a link under this video in the future so people can take a
Yeah.
look.
So I don't know. Okay, you can't see this, but I will talk about. This is a new thing that I actually started thinking about what I'm about to say about a week ago. I came across this artwork. Okay, this is just an example of what you do as an entrepreneur when you're using Zoom or Google Meet or WebEx, whatever. This is a visual. This is TV. Okay, so you have to think of it that way. And don't think of it as a laptop. Think of it as a television screen, a television studio. Okay, and the world, you're thousands of miles away from me and 4 or 5 time zones. And here we are. So how can I get more people to trust and spend money and have a 15-20 minute executive interview, LINKMAKER, or their own benefit of public relations about their brand, their product? So I came up with the idea, and I've had the idea before, but I wasn't sure how to do it or how to say it or whether it was appropriate. Have a very, very low price. I'm not going to announce that here, but it's just the concept. And I think you'll see later today or tomorrow when you have time on LinkedIn, you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm on a sales drive, like any business person, generating cash flow, and I have a really good product, and a lot of people know about it, but most people have not taken advantage of the executive interview to use it as a sales tool for themselves, for their brand, for their next effort, like job seeking or client seeking, or just information acquisition, or if they're a book author, getting the word out about their book and why it's special. So, and there's other organizations and people that could use that kind of a service. What service is that? The executive interview. In other words, using my platform and my product, the executive interview, 15-20 minutes for $50 with media prep, with counseling, with media prep is key because it provides a psychological safety, and talking point development. This is all prior to the production, the recording. So people feel comfortable. They should feel comfortable in being in front of the camera with a stranger. And the concept of content collaboration means there's no zingers coming at you. This is safe, no risk, in a helpful environment. Yeah.
And how long should it take for someone to prepare? Let's say someone who wanna join this program to present their business in a meeting. For how long they will take to prepare, to do the media preparation, the talking points?
It could be a month, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 2 days.
Okay.
The simpler, the better, but it's worth to plan out a week in advance. So the idea is that I say, give me your talking points. In other words, what do you want to talk about?
Mhm.
But don't write me sentences. I don't want to read sentences. I just want to know keywords or phrases. And so bullet point, talking points, identifying key things about your brands, your professional brand. So for instance, with yourself, executive language coaching. So did I say that correctly?
Executive language coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you didn't prep me. I just remember some words you used and I'm giving them back to you. So identifying in just 3 words, no sentences. Now you can add after that headline, point A, point B, point C, to go deeper and make sure there's understanding. So talking points. So I say, Carolina, send me your talking points as soon as possible. And you can change them, but start. So you're going to send me your talking points. What's a talking point? Well, it's keywords or phrases to simplify and identify what your professional brand is all about. And so you're going to give me what you said earlier about your coaching and how that will benefit someone who is in business, but they want to upgrade, upskill, reskill their American business language usage, okay, in their own way. Now, in addition to that professional brand, identifying that professional brand, what it is and how it benefits that person, and what kind of a person is that who will derive the benefit. So if you can describe all of that in number 1, the headline, number 2, A, B, C, D, you have a support system. You don't have to memorize sentences. You don't have to memorize words because it's just right in front of you. And you already know all that stuff. Okay, so now you're going to just tell me in advance, and I'm not going to memorize anything. I'm just going to keep that memo in front of me. And an hour or 2 hours or a day prior to that appointment that you and I would have for that recording, I will review because that's my media prep. So, okay. So now the next step is your personal brand. So you as a person, as a woman. So how does your personal brand interact with your professional brand to create a beautiful picture? When I say those words, surely physical beauty, but that's easy. But in the mind, in some people, it's going to create fear. And that's not beauty. That is danger. Uh, because people are different. So you have to know that. And you get, so you say, okay, send me your talking points. And here's what I mean by talking points. And just identify stuff. And send me something. And then if you need to change something 2 days from now, change it. I don't care. I want you to be comfortable, and then just inform me, and I become comfortable, knowing that you will be media prepped.
Mhm.
In other words, ready. Okay, so and so that reduces my risk when you are prepared. And so that enables me to be a happy TV talk show host and have this wonderful environment of idea exchange within a business framework. That's all there is to it. Now, it gets complicated from there. So I say, show me a slide or two, but make it beautiful, show your logo, and make that font large. And again, not sentences, talking points, keywords, and then it becomes on the screen. It's like you're a light fixture. It's attractive. And that picture of Big Ben behind you. So this is very interesting, and it tells a story and identifies something. So the slide that you'll use my screen share and upload at the appropriate time will augment, in other words, make larger, make more effective, whatever words you use. People will remember the images. And because it's recorded, that slide and the images and your words connected, permanent.
Mhm.
And so it becomes a long-term positive public relations vehicle. You get all of that. Oh, not only the video, but the audio and the text notes. So you get video, audio, and text from the LINKMAKER executive interview. So that is the pitch and the product. So, and you would think that should be 100 people a month doing that, but it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work. So I struggle with that, and it drives me to want to upgrade and tweak something that I've already spent time on and find another word or another phrase. So that the process, it's a learning process, and it's a joint venture actually, because I get better at what I do, and that helps me create a more perfect environment. In other words, a comfortable environment. So one of the things that somebody gave me a tip on, and I'll be real brief here, is offering a financial guarantee, a written contract,
Mhm.
a no risk, psych safety, friendly environment, media prep, and no financial risk. So whatever money the client has to pay is all invoiced in advance. Um, I guarantee in writing the quality of the PR service and the customer experience that you've experienced yourself. The quality, the feeling, and the actual delivery of that in a bite-sized, usable way for you and your own needs because of the discussions that we've had. All of that becomes what's a contract. But I say 100% money back guarantee if I don't do that. And of course, I will do it because I don't want to do everything and then have mud in my face and lose money. So no risk psychologically, no risk content, no risk financial. I think that kind of an approach is a perfect product for these days we're in, which are risky and unfortunately nerve-wracking. So, and a lot of, not just you and me, but other people have the same feelings or worse, and it's impacted what they do and say and think.
Indeed. Indeed. It's something I talk about with Angie recently, one of the participants of our meetings, how psychologically safety we feel in this environment. So for the people that is listening to us today, to understand that they have this possibility to have you with all these years of experience, with all this reach with throughout countries, throughout businesses and companies, to have their business presented in a very impactful way and that will connect with people, not more of the same, right? Because this is what happening so much in internet, like everybody's copying everybody, and to have something authentic, I think is a very important opportunity, very a premium product, what you are offering. And thank you so much for sharing this with us today.
Thank you for this opportunity. It's an honor for me to be with you, and I welcome you to join me on our LATAM series, which is going forward. I have a broadcast planned for late September and again in early October, where we're going to do a deep dive on strong women in the workplace. And I'll get you on that invitation list when my leader is ready for that. There's no date on that yet, but in October, probably. And thank you for your time and your attention to me.
It's my honor, and I will leave behind this video, under this video, all the contacts so you guys can reach Ed and talk to him and be part of this amazing movement that he is generating. Thank you so much, Ed, for today.
Thank you. Please send me the link so I could play with that.
Of course, I will.
Great. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Ciao.
Ciao.